Welcome in to the NFL Opening Line Report, July 5th. Hopefully you enjoyed your 4th of July weekend. He's Teddy Covers. I'm Drew Martin. We're breaking down NFL season win totals. Got 5 divisions, only about a half hour to do them here, guys. So it's quick hitter style, AFC West, and then all the NFC teams on today's podcast. Teddy, welcome to the show. Happy Monday morning to you.
Hey, buddy. Happy 4th of July. Hope you had a great weekend. I spent my entire weekend neck deep in NFL, so that's all I've done. So thank you for taking time out of your day on the day after the 4th of July to hang out with us, and hopefully we'll give you some good info over the course of the next half hour or so.
Absolutely, Teddy. Here we go. AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs, 14-2 last season. Against the spread, only 7-9. And, of course, the Super Bowl losers here, Teddy. And from doing this show with you for multiple years here, I know Super Bowl losers the next year, not necessarily a bet-on opportunity. A lot of the times, anyway, we're seeing 12.5 as the season win total. A little bit of juice towards the over here. 12.5 for the Chiefs. Teddy, any interest in this one?
Sure. I mean, when you talk about Andy Reid and his track record as a regular season head coach, just look at the last 5 years, 12, 10, 12, 12, 14 wins for Kansas City over the total every year. 8 years, 8 overs in KC. It was a similar story at Philly. So when you're talking about coaches who've earned our respect season win-wise, Andy Reid, not near the top of the list. He's at the top of the list. You look at Kansas City, and of course, Super Bowl loser. You know, we worry about teams that have been on extended runs, especially, it's 2 straight years for KC with extended playoff runs into the postseason. That being said, on paper, this team's as good or better than they've been. Maybe better. I had a lot of concerns about the offensive line coming in, and I don't have when it's a totally rebuilt offensive line, but you bring in a Joe Thuney, $80 million from New England. You trade for Orlando Brown. You have your second-round pick in Creed Humphrey. You have the free agent Austin Blythe, and then you have DeVarney Tardif, who was a COVID opt-out last year, and you got Kyle Long coming out of retirement. Not only is the offensive line good, it's deep. There's not a lot of weaknesses on this KC team. That said, priced as the best team in the NFL, when you talk about a value standpoint, not a team I'm rushing to bet over.
All right, Teddy, heading to our Las Vegas Raiders up next. 8-8 last season, seeing them as second place in the AFC West just last year. 8-8 against the spread as well. Seeing their season win total here, Teddy. 7, I guess you could shop around, but so 7 being their season win total, even juice on both sides. We got our Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant Stadium should be fans in the stadium, Teddy. Maybe a little bit more of a home field advantage this season. We'll have to see in the desert. But what are you thinking for the Raiders season win total of 7?
So for as much of a home field advantage as is going to be with fans in the stadium, ticket prices are through the roof.
Yeah, they are.
For Allegiant Stadium. Okay. I mean, you can't find anything for less than $1,000. Not much anyway.
Yeah.
It's all going to be, and the people who are going to be buying those tickets are all fans of the road teams.
Yeah,
so recognize this is going to be like the Chargers in a sense. Remember when the Chargers playing at SoFi and it's all Eagles fans. I don't think it's going to be that strong for the Raiders, but it's going to be 50-50 fan base. It's not going to be one of these situations where it's all Raiders fans at Allegiant Stadium. It won't be. Last 4 years, 6 wins, 4 wins, 7 wins, 8 wins. So I guess there's a little bit of improvement there, but certainly not taking the next step. Gruden and Mayock now in their 4th year on the job. Last year, 8-8 instead of playoffs. Why? They had the 3 blown leads in the last 2 minutes of games where they had it. Now, obviously, you're bringing back Carr, who there was some concerns whether he was going to be the guy. The defense was bottom 4 in turnovers created, bottom 4 in sacks created last year. There's all kinds of questions about whether that defense is going to be any good again. This year, they did bring in Yannick Ngakoue to bring in some pass rush, but it's still a very shaky-looking defense. And, of course, the offensive line made the decision, or the Raiders made the offseason moves to get younger and cheaper on the offensive line. That meant jettisoning 3 starters, which does not on paper make them better coming into 2021. Raiders look like a slightly sub 500 team. That's where they're priced in the markets right now. They look like an over team on a week in, week out basis from a season win standpoint. However, I don't expect to get involved with Las Vegas.
Teddy, next team up here, we get going from the Las Vegas Raiders to the LA Chargers. We haven't made a mistake yet on the city and the team names. the rest of the show, I don't know if that's going to happen. Here we've got the LA Chargers season win total of 9. Teddy, juice towards the over. I'm seeing minus 140 at some shops. So LA Chargers finishing last year 7-9, 9-7 ATS, but straight up here 7-9, and their season win total of 9. Teddy, with juice towards the over.
Yeah, I cashed an under 7.5 wins ticket with the Chargers last year for my clients and I, and it cashed early. They won their last 4, the last 6, but it was a wrong side winner. Chargers were a lot better than I thought they were going to be from day one last year. That said, I ain't betting this team over this year. And again, you look at the win totals, 5, 9, 12, 5, and 7 the last 5 years. So it's not like they're right there. You know, they had the one good season during that span. Anthony Lynn, Don Brandon Staley hired as a new head coach. This is the guy who 2 years ago was a position coach. Then he became coordinator, taking over Wade Phillips' defense. Now he's a head coach. So pretty quick rise. Justin Herbert obviously was a monster last year as a rookie, 31 pass touchdowns, 36 total touchdowns, 396 completions. Those were all rookie records. Does have a new OC, so he's learning a new offense in Joe Lombardi. And, of course, I don't love the skill position talent around him this year. They spent a lot of off-season emphasis on improving the offensive line, and the offensive line does look a lot better on paper. But from a depth standpoint, again, they have 4 new offensive line starters. May take some time. I've got concerns about their secondary. I've got concerns about their pass rush other than Joey Bosa. And I've got concerns about Staley in his first year as a head coach. If I'm getting involved with the Chargers, it's not going to be an over bet. It'll be under on LA.
Okay, we got Denver Broncos up next. Of course, Denver making some headlines this season in the hunt for Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that finishes. 5-11 just last season, although they were 9-7 against the spread, profit makers if you were betting them. Teddy, one thing that jumps off the board at me, in division, just 1-5. They're going to need to turn that around if they're looking to climb up the division here. And for their season win totals, 8.5, juice towards the over, Teddy.
Yeah, and of course, if you like the Broncos, and I like the Broncos, okay? The Broncos are not going to be on my season win report that comes out on Wednesday because there's enough Aaron Rodgers maybe factored into this season win total that you have to be aware of it. If Rodgers gets settled in August, and I expect him to get settled one way or the other, all right, if he goes to Denver, I miss my bet. But if he goes to any of the other 30 teams or stays in Green Bay, this Broncos season win total is going to come down, and it may come down in a hurry. Because Denver hasn't been there, in 5 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins, 5 wins. It's Vic Fangio's put up or shut up year, I guess, for the Broncos. Look, this team has had 10 different starting quarterbacks since Peyton Manning retired. The offense, 20.2 points per game or less in each of the last 5 years. I mean, they just haven't been able to score points. Now, Drew Lock tied for the NFL lead in interceptions last year. They bring in Teddy Bridgewater. And potentially Aaron Rodgers. I'm making all assumptions that Aaron Rodgers is not going to Denver. Okay. The question is, can Locke and Bridgewater be a decent enough QB combo to get this team to 8 or 9 wins? 9 wins they'll have to get over their win total. Locke's not hopeless. Bridgewater's been a winning quarterback. I don't see a problem. I don't see it as a unit of strength, but I don't see it as a disaster for Denver. They're not going in with no quarterback. They've got 2 okay quarterbacks, which, is what it is. They're not paying for them. And then they've used that money on the offensive line. Looks really good. The defense is loaded. Fangio is a defensive mind. He's got a really strong-looking defense. The number 1 pick was on D. The top 2 free agent signings on D. They get Von Miller back from injury. They got Bradley Chubb back. They got a pass rush. Ronald Darby coming in. I like Denver. I can't bet them over now, obviously, because it's not the right time. But we may get a chance to bet Denver with part 2 of my season win report when that comes out. Don't know if it'll come out after week 2 or week 3 of the preseason, but it'll come out in August. And I will be looking potentially to bet the Broncos over then. I can't do it now because Rodgers is priced into the number.
Yeah, might have to wait a little bit for that one. Teddy, next division up, you want to do the NFC East?
Yeah, let's start in the East.
Okay, guys, and Teddy teased it right there. The NFL season win total report since 2001, 91-41. That's almost 70% winners here, guys. 2 decades we're going back, 91-41, and it is released part 1 on Wednesday, so going to want to check it out. Sportsmemo.com, experts page. Teddy covers. Next team up here, Teddy, we get the NFC East. The winners of it just last season sitting at 7-9. The Washington football team, they were 9-7 against the spread, seeing their season win total 8.5. Teddy, small juice towards the over, seeing -120 towards the over of 8.5. Fitzpatrick coming into town. I actually think this quarterback room is a little bit sleeper here, Teddy. I kind of like the football team. How are you feeling?
There's things to like about them. You know, win totals the last 5 years, 9-8, 7-7-7. They've been real consistent and mediocre every year. Jack Del Rio as DC, offensive coordinator Scott Turner, everyone comes back there. They had ample cap space. They bring in Fitzmagic. They bring in Curtis Samuel. They bring in William Jackson, you know, playmaking receiver, playmaking cornerback. You look at some of the quarterbacks this team has had, you know, Colt McCoy, Josh Johnson, Mark Sanchez, Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith, Tyler Heineke, Kyle Allen, Kirk Cousins, RG3. It's been a while that had somebody good. We'll see if Fitzmagic. And Fitzmagic was great.
Oh, yeah. He
was great in Miami last year. Tua got the job because they wanted to see what Tua could do, not because Fitzmagic lost it. He was the better of the two quarterbacks. The defense looks loaded. You know, strong defensive line, obviously with Chase Young returning. Bottom 5 unit to top 5 unit last year. They used the number 1 pick at linebacker. You know, they had 3 deep threats on offense. Not a lot of skill position depth, but Ron Rivera's got a decent team. The NFC East as a division is a whole lot better than it was last year. And Washington, to me, looks like, you know, a 500 or slightly better squad, which is exactly where they're priced.
Teddy, next team up, I'm showing the New York Football Giants, 6-10 last season. They also went 9-7 against the spread, but just 6-10 straight up here. I'm seeing their season win total, talking about the Giants here, 7. I'm seeing -155 towards the over. You've explained this before, about 50 cents juice going to a half a win. So I don't know if we can call that 6.5 or 7 here, Teddy, but I'll throw it over to you for the New York Football Giants.
It'll be 7.5. It's 7 -150 is 7.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
You're going to call that a 7.5 on the G-Men. G-Men are a popular team this offseason, and I can understand why. You know, win total wise, last 4 years, 3, 5, 4, 6. They've been bottom feeders 4 years in a row. What happens when a team is bottom feeder 4 years in a row? Real simple. You start to accumulate some talent, you know. There's a number of teams that have done that. And the Giants were in win now mode this offseason. They spent $200 million in free agency. Joe Judge got to win now. You know, Jason Garrett as OC got to win now. Gettleman GM got to win now. And of course, you know, they're 15-33 in the first 3 years under Gettleman. The last 3 years under Gettleman, I should say. So it's not like we have anyone on this team that has a whole, you know, if things go south for the Giants, everyone's looking for a new job at the end of the year. So there's urgency, and they spent the resources to show that it's urgent. From a skill position standpoint, skill position talent standpoint, the Giants are loaded. You know, whether it's Saquon Barkley, they bring in Kenny Golladay, they bring in John Ross, they bring in Kyle Rudolph. They already had Darius Slayton and Kadarius Toney. I mean, they're deep with playmaking weapons for sure. On defense, a good-looking defense on paper. Boy, strong secondary, solid front 7. You know, they're drafting defense. It's on paper a good-looking unit. Concerns about the Giants? Real simple. Can Daniel Jones play, and can he not get crushed behind what looks like on paper one of the worst offensive lines in football? That's my biggest concern about the Giants. And, of course, if you have an offensive line, doesn't matter how fast your receivers are, you can't get the ball to them in space. Giants' biggest weakness last year may be their biggest weakness this year. But there's talent there. There's certainly room for upside if the Giants can get an offensive line that can protect their quarterback, and a quarterback who can start avoiding the mistakes that have plagued him his first 2 years in the NFL.
NFL opening line report. He's Teddy Covers. I'm Drew Martin. We're making our way down the NFC East teams here. We'll finish out with all of the NFC teams on the podcast. 6-10 last season, talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Next team up, money burners here, Teddy, just 5-11 against the spread. That's awful if you were betting the Cowboys last season, but 6-10 straight up. And their season win total, Teddy, talking about the Cowboys, 9.5. I'm seeing -140 towards the under here of 9.5, Teddy, on the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys trending in the wrong direction the last couple of years. You know, wins the last 5 years, 13, then 9, then 10. And then 8 and 6, so 500 and sub 500 the last 2 years. This team hasn't reached an NFC championship game since their last Super Bowl win in 1995. They were an awful defense last year and an injury-riddled offense. So on defense, you know, they had They signed 11 free agents, and they drafted, I think, 11 guys in the draft. 15 of the 22 are on the defense side of the football. There's huge changes on the defensive side. Dan Quinn replaces Mike Nolan as a coordinator. Now, they allowed the most points in franchise history last year. So there's certainly room for improvement. It's going to be a work in progress with this defense, Drew. It's not a defense that's going to come out of the gate. We would expect to be even good, let alone elite. So Dallas is going to have to score points early on. And, of course, on offense, they bring back Kellen Moore as the OC. He got a big raise, so he didn't take the Boise State job. Dak Prescott, before his ankle injury last year, threw for 1,800 yards in 5 games, on pace for the most yards in NFL history. And you look at the receiving core: Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. Real solid on paper, playmakers. Offensive line looks good on paper. I get it. What about Zeke Elliott, though, in the running game for Dallas? Because Dallas didn't run the football that well last year. He only had 7 20-plus yard plays over the last 2 years. He had 32 of those in his first 3 years. I wonder if Dallas is going to be a one-dimensional team throwing the football this time around. I wonder if Dak Prescott can get healthy, stay healthy. They're certainly not a team in any rush to bet over their season win total. I think Dallas, once again, perennially overrated.
Teddy, next team up here, finishing it off in the NFC East, Philadelphia Eagles, 4-11-1 last season, 2-4 in the division. Also money burners, 6-10 against the spread, but straight up 4-11-1, seeing their season win total. Talking about the Eagles, 6.5 wins, -145 towards the over. What's up with the Eagles this year, Teddy?
Yeah, win totals the last 5 years, 7 and then 13 in their Super Bowl season. The last 3 years, 9 wins, and last year's 4-win debacle. So, they were a Super Bowl team fairly recently. 13 playoff appearances the last 21 years. And we talked about the teams that draft high every year, and then at some point they should start to accumulate some talent. You look at the other end of the spectrum, teams that make the playoffs every year, unless you're New England, where it never catches up with you until it finally did last year. At some point, it starts to catch up with you. It has for Philly. New head coach in Nick Sirianni, new quarterback in Jalen Hurts, the backup Joe Flacco. You better hope Hurts doesn't get hurt. You have a new OC in Shane Steichen, new DC in Jonathan Gannon. Your number one pick's a little guy in Devonta Smith. Last year's top pick, Jalen Reagor, so very young at receiving with their receiving core. I've got questions about their offensive line. Look, Travis Kelce was in the Pro Bowl last year, but Lane Johnson's coming back from injury. It's the offensive line that was a disaster a year ago that I'm not convinced is going to be a whole lot better. The secondary has holes. The defensive line is old. Fletcher Cox on the wrong side of 30. Brandon Graham on the wrong side of 30. And they have depth problems across the roster. Remember, they ate $33.8 million in dead cap money just to get rid of Carson Wentz. Philly, they're in rebuilding mode this year. I'm only looking at the Eagles under their season win total. I would not bet them over.
Guys, NFL opening line report. Teddy covers Drew Martin here. Teddy's NFL season win total report coming out on Wednesday. Going to want to check it out, sportsmemo.com. 91-41, 69% winners going back since 2001, guys, with analysis. It's a great report to have, not only for betting the season win totals, but also for the analysis, learning to bet these teams each and every game. Teddy, next team up, we get the NFC North. In the Green Bay Packers, 13-3, leading the division, 5-1 in the division, 10-6 against the spread. Again, Teddy, straight up 13-3, and I'm also not seeing a season win total here. So if you got one, throw it out. But what are you thinking for the Packers?
Yeah, I got a win total number for the Packers. Let me just grab it right here. Green Bay right now, I got them at 9.
Okay,
priced in the 9 range. But again, that's at least some Aaron Rodgers is going to be there, priced into there. I would say a half win of that, perhaps. And if Aaron Rodgers stays or they work out some accommodation or Rodgers shows up for the preseason, I would expect that number to start going up. Because obviously if Jordan Love is their quarterback this year, they're probably not a 9-win team. And the books have to put something up there. Look, Green Bay's 26-6 the last 2 years. The only way to go is down. They're not going to get any better than what they were. Rodgers had 48 touchdown passes last year, 121.5 QB rating. The only he can go is down. Okay, he's not having a $121.5 QB rating this year. Not any better than that anyway. They spent free agent money on running backs, who I never liked that. Aaron Jones, they brought him back instead of just concentrating on A.J. Dillon. Certainly, you look at the receiving core. Devontae Adams is a stud. surrounding him. Are we excited with what they have? No. Offensive lineman Bakhtiari is coming off a torn ACL, may not be ready for the season opener. The center, Corey Lindsey, went to the Chargers in free agency. I got questions about the offensive line. You have a new DC and Joe Barry, a guy who has a terrible track record. Go look at what Joe Barry's defense has done, and admittedly, he was a defense coordinator for 2 bad teams at bad times. But he's had 4 years in NFL defense coordinator, and he's never finished outside the bottom 5 with the Washington football team and the Lions. He's had some rough defenses. There's a pass rush there, but, Darius Smith and Preston Smith both kind of declined last year. I've got concerns of Kevin King at the cornerback position. I don't love this Green Bay Packers team. And if Aaron Rodgers isn't there, they're a fade team, plain and simple.
Yeah, Jordan Love probably not going to fill the shoes, at least year one. Those are big shoes to fill as we move down here. NFC North, the Chicago Bears up next, Teddy. 8-8 last season. Also 8-8 against the spread. So I guess perfectly 500 team here. Over under 7.5 wins I'm seeing this season. Even juice on both sides here, Teddy. What are we thinking for the Bears this season?
Well, again, they went 12-4 3 years ago, and then back-to-back 8-8s. They're calling it a make-or-break year for Matt Nagy and GM Ryan Pace. A complete overhaul, the defensive coaching staff. A new DC and Sean Desai. Nagy's returning to call plays this year, and of course, who's he going to call plays for? Andy Dalton, who's not a vet-on quarterback, in my opinion. They plan to keep Justin Fields on the bench for as long as they can, which means that if Dalton gets hurt, Nick Foles, I don't know. You look at the receiving core. Allen Robertson's been a monster. They got speedy Darryl Mooney, Anthony Miller, Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham. I don't love this skill position talent at all. And the defense, again, it was the defense that underachieved last year. They're getting Eddie Goldman back after a COVID opt-out. Khalil Mack, 6 straight Pro Bowls, but suffered big losses in the secondary. Only 1 returning starter. In fact, the defense lost 6 of their top 12 players in the offseason with the new coordinator, with an overhaul offensively. Chicago to me is a team with a whole lot of questions and potentially a coaching staff that won't make it past or won't make it into December. Those aren't teams I'm looking at over the total.
Teddy, next team up, we get the Minnesota Vikings, 7-9 last season. Against the spread, they were 6-10, seeing their season win total, talking about the Vikings here. Sitting at 8.5 wins, -170 to the over. So, again, the 50 cents on each half a win, I would put that at 9, Teddy, but I'll throw it over to you on your thoughts on that and the Minnesota Vikings here.
Yeah, and Minnesota's a team that, right from the get-go, the Vikings were a very popular over team amongst the wise guys. And you can understand why. You look at the track record of Mike Zimmer. Again, he hadn't had an under in quite some time, 8-13, 8-10 wins. And it opened, 7.5, 8 for Minnesota and got bet right up. And of course, guys that were hurt last year, Eric Kendricks was hurt on defense. Daniel Hunter was hurt on defense. Anthony Barr was hurt on defense. Michael Pierre was hurt on defense. Zimmer called it the worst defense he ever coached, and they brought in 6 free agents on the defensive side of the football and 3 of their top 4 draft picks on the defensive side of the football. On defense, that's a good-looking D, man. That was, again, they were a top 3 defense in 16, 17, 18, and then dropped to 14th in 2019 and 27th last year. Zimmer's a defensive mind. That defense will be better this year. But, and ugly stats. The opponent scored on half of their drives against them, number 31 in the NFL. QB pressure allowed on only 30% of dropbacks is number 32. So they had no pass rush. Some ugly stats a year ago defensive. That D will be better. Okay, it'll be better from day one. New offense coordinator in Clint Kubiak. That's Gary's son. He got the job when his dad retired. You certainly love their frontline skill position talent. But even after all this time, do we love Kirk Cousins? We don't. Do we think the offensive line is fixed? We don't. Do they have depth in terms of skill position playmakers? They don't. And that all concerns me with Minnesota already getting bet up. The Vikings are on my short list to play over the total, and they're still on my short list to play over the total. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to be in this report. If it comes, it'll be in report number 2. There's things to like about Minnesota. There's things to like about Zimmer off a bad year. But the markets are already hot on the Vikings, and I do have my concerns about how that offense is going to hold up.
And Teddy, a handicapping question for you. With the Vikings kind of the juice getting up there, minus 170, minus 175, will you normally see the sports books just keep going up in terms of the juice, or will they change a half a season win total?
Book to book, it varies. Generally, books really don't like getting excited. If it's 8.5 over minus 70, they'll make it 8.5 over minus 80, as opposed to putting it to 9. Because if they put it to 9, they'll attract some under money on under 9 in theory. And then if it lands on 9, they push all of that and they pay all the over 8.5s. You don't want those half game differentials for season win totals. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, it can mess up your balance sheet in a hurry when you're paying out one side and not collecting on the other. It's not like a push in the regular season on a game where it's no big deal. For season wins, we're talking about season-long wagers. When you push and lose, when you get sided that way for the books, it really is a bad outcome for them. So as a strategy, I don't mind laying the juice. I would rather lay 8.5 minus 150 than 9 at plus 100. And the reason I'm doing that, again, these are season-long bets. If I'm making season-long bets, I want every edge that I can get, and I'd rather have a win than a push at 9. So I'll lay that juice. I want that to win. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. I'm just thinking to myself, you're tying up more money for a while. That's the only pushback I would have. But the market way more than I do.
Sure. If you're tying up your money for a while, you'd much rather tie it for a win than a push.
And you're good point there.
And you're increasing your chances to win and get a nice. It's nice, and it used to be a nice Christmas present, and then it was a nice New Year's present. Now the NFL regular season goes through like the second week of January this year, so it'll be a nice present for MLK Day.
Really? All right. We got one more team here in the NFC North. It is the Detroit Lions here, Teddy. 5-11 last season, 7-9 ATS, just seeing 1-5 in the division. So straight up last season, 5 wins, 11 losses in the Detroit Lions. In terms of their season win total, I'm seeing them 5 wins, minus 110 each side here. So season win total of 5 for the Detroit Lions here, Teddy.
Yeah, it's a complete rebuild in Detroit. Make no mistake about it. They're tearing everything down and starting up from scratch. And again, they were 9 back-to-back 9-win seasons. And then the last 3 years go 6 wins, 3 wins, 5 wins. They've been bad. It's been a bad organization. They've been in last place the last 3 years. The new head coach, Dan Campbell, how much was he thought about in the off-season coaching marketplace? Well, I'll put it this way. The Lions were the only team that interviewed him. So we'll see if he's ready. Now, on the one hand, everyone's saying Matthew Stafford last year and Jared Goff this year, what a huge drop-off. And, well, Goff's been to more Super Bowls than Stafford, and Goff's, how many years younger? I don't think it's like this huge, unbelievable differential from Stafford to Goff. I really don't. And I think in that sense, they're underrated. That being said, Goff's thrown 29 picks the last 2 years, most in the NFL. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler.
He's got a good deep ball, Teddy, and I don't think enough people realize that, the touch he throws.
Anthony Lynn as offense coordinator, I like that. Certainly, the offensive line is notably getting better. This has been a bad problem for Detroit for many years. And then they finally, Frank Ragnow, they drafted a good one. And they drafted Taylor Decker, and now they got 2 good ones. And they drafted Penny Sewell this year with their number 1 pick. And now they got 3 real good offensive linemen to bookend the unit and at the center. It might be the weakest wide receiving core in the NFL, though, which is something of a concern. And the defense allowed a franchise record for points and yards last year. The back seven's real dicey. It's an ugly looking defense right now. So for as much as we say there are things to like about Goff, and maybe we can make a couple bucks betting on the Lions in some of these games as dogs, on paper, the Lions stink again. And they're not a team I want to bet over the total.
Teddy, we got 2 divisions left here, and it looks like we're coming up against the time. Can we do this tomorrow, next week, or we should steam through right now, man?
I'll quick hit everything as fast as I can. I promise.
All right, buddy.
We got 8 teams. I'll fly through as best I can. But
we got the New Orleans Saints, top of the NFC South. No, go ahead, Teddy.
I was gonna say I don't want to put anything on my schedule for tomorrow, dude. Tomorrow I got to do WagerTalk today, and then it's tomorrow's mostly writing. I'm writing this stuff up. I just got the links that you sent, by the way.
Okay, so guys, we got the season win total coming out on Wednesday. Gonna really want to check this out. Sportsmemo.com, 69% win percentage since 2001. The report comes out on Wednesday. 8 more teams, guys, with the preview here on the NFL opening line report each and every Monday. Come and join us on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, on Twitter as well, at Teddy_covers, at Drew Martin Bets. Next team up, New Orleans Saints, 12-4 last season, 6-0 in the division, 9-7 against the spread here. Teddy, seeing the Saints win total at 9 wins, -120 towards the over. What are we thinking in the Big Easy this season, Teddy?
The Saints' 4 straight playoffs. They've been an elite franchise. They've been 8-1 without Drew Brees at quarterback over the last 2 years. For what it's worth, 8 Pro Bowlers on the roster. It's not like they're bereft of talent, but this team had major salary cap concerns in the offseason. They lost a lot of veteran talent, and not just Drew Brees retiring. The Saints, to me, are like the Steelers. We talked about Pittsburgh as being a team where the upside is Super Bowl for the Steelers and the downside is 4-12. There's an enormous differential between what Pittsburgh might do, what they could do, and what they're, if things break right and if it doesn't. The Saints are the same way. This team could be elite. All right, they're not short on talent. The defense is loaded. The quarterback play is there. They'll be just fine. They could be a Super Bowl team. That said, if the bottom drops out, they get some key injuries. This year, there's no depth. The depth isn't there. And they could be a 5-11, 4-12 team. So a team that I say the upside is Super Bowl, the downside is 4-12. Those aren't teams I'm betting season win total. The Saints, hard team to price for me right now.
The defending Super Bowl champions up next, Teddy. 11-5 last season. Of course, talking about Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks here, Teddy. 9-7 against the spread. 11-5 straight up, seeing their season win total at 11.5 here, Teddy. -130 to the over for the Tampa Bay Bucks.
And the Bucks on paper are loaded. They bring back every starter. They bring back Bruce Arians. They bring back Brian Leftwich. Bring back Todd Bowles as coordinators. And remember, this team started 7-5, and then won their last 8 games. So they played their best ball down the stretch, as you would expect for a team that had such a tumultuous offseason. Tampa's on paper every bit as good now as they were a year ago. Maybe I shouldn't say that. They are on paper better now than they were a year ago. A year ago they were transitioning. Now they got 22 starters back from a team that just won the Super Bowl. Bet against the Bucks at your. What's the right way to phrase it?
At your own
risk? I'm
risk?
not betting against Tampa. Yeah, well, everything's at your own risk, but I'm not betting. I have no interest in betting against Tampa. That team's really good on paper.
Yeah, it's a tricky handicap in itself. The Super Bowl champion bringing back all their starters, offensive and defensive side. It's just a recipe that doesn't happen very much. So, like Teddy said, at your own risk here. 5-11, talking about the Carolina Panthers. Next team up, 1-5 in the division here, Teddy. 9-7 against the spread. So straight up here, talking about the Carolina Panthers, 5-11 last season. I think they're going to be better this season, Teddy. 7.5. So does the season win total market here. -130 towards the under. 7.5 on the Carolina Panthers.
And again, if you've been playing the Panthers over 7.5, you've only cashed one winning bet in the last 5 years. It's been the exception rather than the rule. Although Matt Rule, speaking of rules, Matt Rule had a very impressive coaching debut. How's that segue, buddy?
I love
7
it.
years,
Teddy.
62
that was
million.
good.
They paid real money to bring in Matt Rule, and everything that he's done since he took over the team, I've liked. The youngest roster in the NFL, average age heading into training camp, 24.2 years of age, 11 draft choices. They improved their depth everywhere. They bring back OC Joe Brady, who did interview for a head coaching job. But, this season is going to come down to Sam Darnold. Obviously, get Christian McCaffrey back. But the question is, can Sam Darnold play at a level that's better than what we saw in New York? The good news, he has skill position talent around him, including Robbie Anderson, who he had a nice chemistry with the Jets. The bad news is that the offensive line for Carolina appears to be their biggest area of weakness, much the way the Jets' offensive line was an area of weakness for Darnold in recent years. So if he gets pounded here, it could get ugly for Carolina. But they're certainly a team with some interesting upside.
Alfonso in the chat box saying Bucks haven't lost since the bye week of last season.
Yes.
Hot team for sure. Absolutely. Good point there, Alfonso. Thanks for joining us live, guys. We are up against it time-wise, so couldn't hit the chat box as much, but we promised to make up for it in the future with the NFL opening line report and the NFL season win total report coming out on Wednesday, guys. Check it out, sportsmemo.com. Experts page. Teddy covers. We got the Atlanta Falcons up next here. Teddy, bottom of the NFC South last season, 4-12. Their straight up record. Another team here, just 1-5 in the division. We're getting that kind of mix of the top echelon of the division and the bottom here. Atlanta Falcons season win total of 7.5 wins. Even money on both sides is what I'm seeing here, Teddy. What are we thinking in the ATL with the Dirty Birds this upcoming year?
Yeah, the Falcons have been heading in the wrong direction in each of the last 5 years, going from 11 to 10 to 7 to 7 to 4. If you bet them over 7.5 the last 3 years, you've lost all 3 of those bets. New head coach in former Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. They coaxed Dean Pease out of retirement. The coach of the defense. He was a former Ravens DC. And look, this is a team that lost 8 one-score games last year. They're in all these games. They just can't win any of them. There are things to like about the Falcons. Matt Ryan's age 36, and the offensive line does have some concerns. Only 2 secure starters. Defensively, this team spent so many resources, so much draft capital. I keep saying the defense might be good. This year, the defense might be good, although I do have some concerns on the defensive line. Offensive line, defensive line, the trenches of where Atlanta is problematic. This is another team that there's great upside, but the bottom could fall out, and it could be the end of the Matt Ryan era. Upside, playoffs, downside, 4 wins.
Okay, we got NFC West, guys. Last division we're going to hit here, and that will be each and every team here for the NFL opening line report. First up here, top of the NFC West, Teddy, Seattle Seahawks, 12-4 last season, just 8-8 against the spread. Talking about the Seahawks here for their season win total, I am seeing 9.5, Teddy, -150 towards the over.
Talk about betting Andy Reid, and all you want to do is bet Andy Reid over. Pete Carroll's the same story. Last 5 years, 10, 9, 10, 10, 12 wins. I know they don't have a Super Bowl appearance since the 2014 season. And I know they don't have a championship game, NFC championship game appearance since that time either, but they're in the playoffs every year. And no reason to think that it won't be the case again this year. Offensive line might even be better for Seattle. Operative word might. I got some concerns about this team defensively. Depth-wise, Seattle not what they were a few years back.
Teddy, next team up, we get the LA Rams, 10-6 last season, 9-7 against the spread here. They were a huge under trender, 4-12 towards the under, but straight up 10-6 last year. Talking about the LA Rams and their season win total this year, Teddy, seeing it 10 wins, small juice towards the over.
11, 13, 9, and 10 the last 4 years in terms of win totals. You talked about that defense a year ago, 4.6 yards per play, the number 1 defense in the NFL. They lost 7 assistants, including Braden Stanley as defense coordinator the year after they lost Wade Phillips as DC. It's a defense that has some issues. Frontline talent, they're loaded. All right, this team's loaded with the high-end talent, whether it's Stafford on the, whether it's obviously, you talk about Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and so on. They have the superstars. Where my concerns about the Rams are is depth-wise. And again, they're hoping that Matthew Stafford is Tom Brady. That's what they did. Mortgage the future, bring in the quarterback, get your guy now. There's only one problem with that theory. Matthew Stafford's not Tom Brady. Rams under if I'm getting involved.
Matthew Stafford not being Tom Brady. Teddy covers bringing the heat here. 2 teams left. Arizona Cardinals 8-8 last season. Teddy 7-9 against the spread. So heading to the desert here, talking the Cardinals. Their season win total, seen it at 8.5. Teddy -130 towards the under for the Redbirds.
Yeah, 5 wins 2 years ago to 8-8 last year, but it was a 5-2 start and a 3-6 finish. They had a chance to make the playoffs. They lost to the Rams in Week 17. That was a really banged-up football team. Arizona wins, 7 wins, 8-3, 5-8. They've not been a good team for the last half decade. Nobody likes this defense. I like this defense. when you grade out this defense, player by player, personnel by look what they did in the offseason, look what they brought in free agency, look what the draft. There's a lot to like. There really is. Kyler Murray with the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2019, a Pro Bowler last year. I mean, his trajectory's through the roof. And they're being viewed as a last-place team in a division with 3 favorites that I think are all vulnerable. I like Arizona. If I'm playing them, I'm playing them over.
I'm with you, Teddy. And to your point, 5-11, huge under trenders. Talking about that defense in Arizona, maybe being a little bit underrated here, guys. Last team for the NFC West finished at the bottom the year after making the Super Bowl. 6-10 last season for the San Francisco 49ers, just 7-9 against the spread. And Teddy, you know, San Francisco, some people would look for kind of a bounce back here off being the Super Bowl loser. Obviously, the under hitting this season, 10 wins is what I'm seeing them at. Over -145 here, talking about the 49ers.
I mean, look, coming into last year, I thought the 49ers were a team that was capable of competing for the Super Bowl again after their 13-win season. And it was just a nightmare, an injury-riddled nightmare from day one. They had the most injuries, I think, of any team in the league last year, certainly right there. But again, you look at this franchise the last 5 years, 2 wins, then 6, then 4, then 13 in a Super Bowl appearance. Last year, 6 again. It's not like they've been at the top of the heap. It's not like the Yorks are good owners, all right? The Yorks are the epitome of your billionaire playboys who inherited the team from their parents and, hey, let's party. And they were smart to franchise it all out to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, which they've done. But, you know, Shanahan and Lynch – I got some issues with some of the moves they made. A lot of the moves they've made. Of course, they lose their defense coordinator, now the Jets head coach, DeMeco Ryans, first-time DC. They're loaded with talent. There's a lot of talent in San Fran. But you also have an emerging QB situation, controversy. When does Garoppolo get benched? They don't want him to get benched. All right, we're going to keep the rookie that we tried to spend all this capital on the bench all year. San Fran's not, I'll tell you this, I'm not playing the 49ers over 10. I don't know if I can play them under. But there are enough questions about that team and enough concerns if things don't start out right. They'll go to the rookie. And I don't want an FCS rookie as a guy who has how many pass attempts in his career? He had 318 pass attempts at the FCS level. That's his entire, that's what we have in entirety for Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, yeah.
Which, that's not enough to make me comfortable with him. If Trey Lance is QBing for the 49ers this year, at any point, they're going to go under their season win total.
Yeah, Teddy, I mean, talking about his future, I think that's a difficult handicap, but you're right. I mean, the profile of going from the FCS, limited passing attempts, to the NFL, I don't know if I like betting on just that overall profile. But guys, season win total report right here each and every Monday. The opening line report right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. 91-41. That's the win-loss record here for Teddy covers in his opening line, in his season win total report here, available at sportsmemo.com. 69% win percentage, NFL season win total since 2001, 2 decades strong here, Teddy. So check them out, experts page, sportsmemo.com. The report's coming out on Wednesday. Teddy, any final thoughts here for the show?
Yeah, and again, it's 91-41 over the last 20 years. It's 20-10 over the last 6 years. It went 3-1 last year with an easy 5% big ticket winner on the Buffalo Bills over the total. The 5%ers in this report have gone 14-3. That's better than 80%. And again, part 1 of this report will come out on Wednesday. And then we'll do part 2 at some point in the preseason. We'll see how the markets shake out. But it's the kind of thing, if you want to get involved, don't sleep on it because the numbers move. I have enough clients. The numbers do often move right off the open when the win report does come out. So get the best of the number. Get involved right now. Check out that package over at sportsmemo.com. That's all I have, Drew. Thanks for running along with me. I appreciate it. I know you have first pitch coming right now. So hop at it, guys. And last thing, no opening line report for the next 3 weeks. Ooh. I'm taking my only vacation. I'm going to enjoy it. We'll see you guys back here the first Monday in August.
come back and join us right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, Twitter as well, at Teddy_covers, at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, please smash the like button. If you like the content, feel free to comment below if you're watching on replay. And like always, guys, huge shout out to the chat box. For Teddy Covers, I am Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets. First pitch coming right up.